Yeah, buddy. Yeah, it's me, Joker. I'm back home and from the hospital. As you can see, this is it, and I'm still kind of smiling. But the painful truth is, I completely tore my biceps.
What's up guys, Derek, moreplates.com. Today we are going to be talking about Joesthetics, Joe Lindner, and his bicep tear. Unfortunate situation, his bicep tendon came clean off the bone apparently, and it is, obviously a very unfortunate situation regardless, but especially for an individual who clearly puts so much time and effort into his physique. Like, there are very few individuals who are comparable in the amount of effort and suffering that this guy goes through to maintain the physique he does year round. Like, this guy is perpetually essentially stage ready almost, and just deals with the fucking cardio, the suffering, the calorie deficit to look as insane as possible. And you can imagine how mentally taxing it would be for an individual like this to undergo like an injury. Like, it's obviously taxing for anybody, but for him specifically, putting in so much fucking time and effort, I can just imagine, how reliant he is on it too for his brand and everything. But this is going to be a bit of a optimistic video in that we are going to be delving into what he can do to accelerate his recovery, specific protocols, as well as like what happened and how to avoid this happening to you as well, because there are certain things that I feel like often go overlooked in the bodybuilding world and are really reinforce some of the strategies I've mentioned before on this channel. So this is the post where he kind of announced it. He is sitting in the hospital bed here. Other posts got deleted. Oh, I don't know what the original caption was, but he is in the hospital bed here, and he is getting his bicep attended to. This is the video he posted. I've torn my bicep statement, Joesthetics. So anyway, let's get into it and we'll discuss after.
Biceps. Look at this point. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, it's me, Joker. I'm back home from the hospital. As you can see, this is it, and I'm still kind of smiling. But the painful truth is, I completely tore my biceps. I don't know what I should say. I'm icing it now, and tomorrow I have an MRI scan, 5 p.m. I'm here in Thailand. I hope that they have good surgeons. Then on Monday, supposedly, they said today is Sunday. Today is Saturday. Tomorrow is Sunday. I have the MRI scan 5 p.m. and then I have to see the surgeon on Monday. And hopefully by Tuesday I can get surgery. But bruh, it looks like for the next time I have to wear this thing, and I will have to post other content and stuff. Yeah, sorry bruh. I'm very sorry that I let all of you down. I'm now was really trying to come back, push YouTube, do this, but let's say this shouldn't stop me from completely. I shouldn't let myself go. I shouldn't see like the negative side. I should think positive.
So he says he can let everyone down, and he's sorry, blah blah blah, and it's like, I can see why this would be such a difficult situation for anybody. Like, it would fucking suck regardless. But I don't know if he realizes that his actual hardcore supporters don't actually care if he's like 6%, 10% body fat, whatever it is. Like, the people in the comment section who will comment when you've gained like, 2% body fat or something, it's like, oh, you're not as sharp as usual, bro. Like, those are not your true fans. Those are not individuals who care about you. Those are not individuals you should care about. They're just people who gawk at your fucking 5% physique and are not like your real supporters at the end of the day. So it's not like you have anything to prove to anybody. Like, sure, if you want to get shredded as fuck and look insane and prove it to yourself that you can beat your last, look or whatever, then like by all means. But your real supporters like don't actually really care. And fortunately for Joe, he actually has a personality that goes above and beyond, the good physique. There are a lot of individuals in this industry that, to be completely honest, are boring as fuck. Like, they're actually just so mundane and horrible to listen to speak that all they have going for them is their physique. But for Joe, fortunately, that is not the case. The guy is funny, and he has an actual unique and likable personality to where he could produce content about fucking anything, dude. He could talk about lifestyle things, he could talk about business, he could talk about anything that interests him, and his hardcore supporters would be on board with it. And to be honest, it would probably be a refreshing spin from the constant instructional videos about workouts, like, I'm sure, like, how many people probably would love to see, like, I don't know about vlogs, I'm sure people love to see vlogs, but how he preps his meals is obviously gym related too, and he's done that kind of stuff before. But even more unique stuff on, I don't know, lifestyle related content, like What's dating like as a fucking, you know, mega influencer or whatever? What is, you know, your businesses? Like, what are you doing with that? Like, how has your travel been in the past? Like, talk about experiences, like crazy stories that have happened when you went to, you know, fill in the blank place. Like, this guy's, you know, been around quite a few different countries. Like, I'm sure he has a ton of crazy stories to talk about. He could do podcasts with other, like, he's a massive fitness influencer. He could easily get into conversations, really deep and interesting conversations, and probably bring out the personalities of other individuals that he's friends with who might otherwise be seen as just boring, bland, you know, fitness influencers too. Like, there's so much shit this guy could do. And he is, I think, more versatile than he realizes when it comes to content. And maybe he's already aware of that. I'm just trying to be optimistic in that hopefully this allows him to discover some of that stuff, and that it can still be valuable content above and beyond this. Because, you know, in general, a lot of these guys kind of pigeonhole themselves into just the fitness stuff. It's like, how many full days of eating can I do before I like fucking hate my life? You know what I mean? And one thing I can say too is hopefully this injury makes him more mindful about the instructionals he does. Because I'll be honest, dude, like when I see his instructionals on Instagram, like I cringe at how he picks up the weight sometimes. Like I'm like, wow, like it fucking terrifies me how he picks up some of this shit. Like he will grab dumbbells and like throw them in the air to like show how to do shit. And just like, it's hard to explain, but he kind of like manhandles his body sort of when and puts himself in interesting compromised positions in these videos sometimes. Like I'll see him like pick up a dumbbell like really aggressively, or pick up a weight in like a really compromising manner in order to show an exercise. Like this is not necessarily the case. I'm trying to find like even this man is like a little bit sketch where he's like showing some of this stuff. Like some of the easy bar ones in particular have like really freaked me out in the past, dude. Like you like rip it off the fucking rack, or just like pick up a bar and like fucking throw it in the air to himself and then catch it in like a compromised position of his bicep, you know? Like there's a lot of stuff you'll see where he does that kind of shit, and it like like it always freaked me the fuck out, to be honest, to the point where I was like, damn, like I hope something does not happen. And like it was not one of these situations, fortunately for him. But yeah, like some of the times he would just like pull shit off the rack, man. Like that, and for example, like some of that stuff like freaks me the fuck out, dude. So anyways, for him, hopefully he avoids that in the future. I don't know if that contributed at all. But something else we're gonna get into shortly is dehydration too, and how prone that can make you to tears as well.
I should think about everything else that I can do with YouTube, or anything I can do and record and help other people train and just rehab and try to get better. Yeah, as you see, I'm just wearing this thing here because the thing is very kind of tight here on my neck. So when I always have to, now they say put your thumb like this. So this is what I'm gonna be looking like probably for the next 8 to 10 weeks. Let's see how it goes. I will keep you updated, let's see. But I just wanted to make this update real quick after I'm back from the hospital now. And then tomorrow at 5 p.m. is the MRI scan. Yeah, thanks for your support, bro. Fuck. I mean, I would really be okay if I'm doing some stupid shit, if I'm lifting heavy, if I'm doing some shit, bro, man, I'm telling you. But I'm just flexing, and I would tear my biceps completely. But it was probably a sign that it was about time to happen, that it was just about to happen. The next thing is that I'm always so fucking ripped. I'm always ripped, I'm always so lean. And some people, they would now say, it's because you're so lean, bro. It's because you are too lean. Maybe, yeah, I don't know what is the word, porous. Porous is gonna get tendons getting affected if you are too dry for too long of a period of time. And
yeah, so this is another thing to comment on. And notably, Antoine Vaillant recently had another bicep tear, and he mentioned how he put himself in a position where he was like lifting a fridge in like a compromised way, and it caused it to rip. But something else he noted, and this is a good point that Leo brought up, is the fact that he said he's been relapsing, and one of the drugs of choice that he's been using is amphetamines. And amphetamines, as well as other stimulants, are notorious for drying you out and like basically dehydrating you is a better term for it. You know, for Joe though, I don't know what he uses stimulant wise. I don't know what he uses. Like, I know he has like I think there was like a 3 liter of coffee video that he had once. I don't know if that was like obviously it couldn't possibly be all caffeinated, or else he'd be fucking dead, I would imagine. But like I'm assuming he probably uses a decent amount of stimulant or like regular coffee to suppress his appetite, which will dehydrate you a lot. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that necessarily, but it's definitely something to be noted, especially when you're walking around this shredded all the time. On top of that, And then I don't know what he's using for PEDs in terms of, like, I know he mentioned he's prone to gyno in one of his previous videos. I did a reaction to that and elaborated on some of the ways to avoid gyno and, how to keep yourself safe and whatnot, how to shrink it potentially, surgery, stuff like that. I don't know if he uses an aromatase inhibitor, but if he does, that definitely would have contributed a lot to this too. And it is another reason why you would not want to be using an AI on TRT. You want to be using every avenue possible to reduce your estrogenic burden before you get to the point of introducing an AI. And to be honest, you should ideally never get there to begin with. Obviously, this will be, individual dependent, maybe not every single person, but in majority of cases, at real TRT dosages, you should be able to manage estrogenicity via even things as simple as increasing your administration frequency. Like, I know so many guys who need an AI to manage their gyno if they're pinning, 1 to 2 times a week. But that same dose cumulatively of test E or test SIP or whatever they're using, if they split it up into micro shots, like 1 every day, the same weekly burden of anabolics, but split into everyday administrations with an insulin pen and like microdosing it, they can reduce these big spikes in aromatization and keep their estrogen levels more stable rather than having a big bolus spike leading to a big amount of aromatization at once. And they actually avoid nipple sensitivity. These individuals are otherwise like developing gyno when they're blasting, like a fat dose like once a week of their TRT. But then when they're splitting it up into more frequent administrations, they can actually reduce and even eliminate their need for an aromatase inhibitor, which would also significantly reduce the likelihood of injury. So if he was using an aromatase inhibitor, I imagine this would have contributed heavily to this tear as well.
Now this is what I need to deal with. Keep you updated. Thanks for watching, bro.
So again, like if he's an individual who uses an aromatase inhibitor, when you get, recover and everything, definitely look at ways to manage your estrogen that don't have to do with inhibiting aromatase. Things as simple as frequency of administration can literally be enough to prevent you from needing an AI at all, and that would, definitely improve your recovery and also significantly lessen your likelihood of encountering this kind of a situation or a re-tear in the future, in my opinion.
Hey brother, what's up happen? Believe it or not, but we are here in the hospital right now because I tore my biceps. Yeah, this one, you can see here, there's torn already. Like, yeah, this is it. Can't extend it really, can't really do anything. I try to ice it now and we're gonna see the doctor and we're gonna see what he's gonna say, but I really hope it's gonna be alright, bro. So look, this is how it should look like, right? From here all the way, and here's the tendon. I can feel like all this way is the tendon. And for this one, I can't really extend it. It wouldn't, yeah, now it's letting me a bit, but it snapped from here to here, you see. I think here is still kind of attached a bit, but we're gonna see the doctor now. Let's see what he's gonna say.
Okay, let's go.
Right, just real quick, this is the bro mosque and the video just cut off. Because we are here and we are cutting, this is the video. Ja, Vogel, filmst du kurz mal auf den Feld? Yeah, this is the video we cut, and now as we are here, it's part 2 is in the MRI scan, bro. Okay, just stay tuned. Keep supporting, man. You can see I'm fucked. Tomorrow I have surgery, but it shouldn't stop us from documenting everything. So keep watching. Like I said, this is part 1 where I just announced that right I have some injury, and part 2 is gonna be the MRI scan, and then part 3 the fucking surgery, bro. Yeah. Adios amigos and chicos, of course.
Good point to pause it. Obviously a shitty situation. Now, again, I mentioned the aromatase inhibitor thing. I mentioned the not doing, exercises like that thing. Not being so lean and dry all the time is another thing. But in addition to that, like what can you do from a harm reduction aspect and or from an injury recovery aspect mainly is what we're going to be delving into now as far as actual protocols go. So obviously growth hormone being one of the first, main line treatments, in my opinion, for rehabilitation and potentially even injury prevention in the future, if warranted. Its ability to induce collagen synthesis and reinforce tendon integrity and actually cause, the recovery of the reattached tendon and increase how strong it is essentially is something that is going to be, critical for his recovery. And in my opinion, it would be a no-brainer addition. And I can't imagine it's probably not already on his radar. I have discussed this with Steve and Leo, who I believe Steve's in touch with them, and I imagine this is something they've probably discussed. You know, who's to say what he will or will not do? I'm just, you know, trying to put out my suggestions as far as what I think is useful in this capacity. And growth hormone, obviously a no-brainer. It's not for performance enhancement. It's not like, you know, some crazy fucking, you know, bodybuilder thing where it's going to be, oh, he's using GH now, so he's, you know, that's why his physique's so sick. It's like, no, like this would be in a literal injury recovery context. Like there's no, like I don't know if he's ever used GH in the past or if he, you know, has any experience with it, but if he has not, this would definitely be one of the most useful times to implement it, in my opinion, even if it's in an acute context. And moving forward in an injury prevention aspect at a low dose, if he plans on staying like this dry and shit all the time, it can certainly reinforce the structural integrity of your infrastructure all over overall, as a high level athlete who is essentially, you know, subjecting their body to extreme levels of stress by being that fucking lean all the time and lifting heavy weights and shit on camera. So obviously growth hormone, a no-brainer. Now getting into some of the, you know, like anabolics, I would definitely be keeping TRT as a baseline. You know, I would not be really altering that other than, you know, definitely dumping the aromatase inhibitor if it is indeed in the equation. Next thing I would be adding in personally is, as you can imagine, when you get into the peptide realm, things like BPC 157, TB 500, you probably already predicted that these would be included. So they're no-brainer additions in my opinion. So BPC 157, if you don't know, is composed of 15 amino acids. It's a partial sequence of body protection compound that is discovered in and isolated from human gastric juice. Experimentally, it has been demonstrated to accelerate the healing of many wounds, including tendon to bone healing and superior healing of damaged ligaments. It also has, you know, many benefits in terms of gut health that often go overlooked, and it can actually be used in an oral aspect. But in general, for a tendon, if you are getting a surgery done and you want to stimulate recovery, I imagine some sort of localized injections of BPC would definitely be useful. Dosages ranging from like, you know, like 300 micrograms upwards of a milligram, you know, might be something to look at. That would be like one of the first go-to no-brainer peptides in my opinion. And the next thing though being TB500, you probably predicted, you know, I already mentioned the BPC, TB500 typically goes concurrently with that. It's almost like a staple, you know, like team duo, if you will, in the peptide recovery realm. The thymosin is a hormone secreted from the thymus. Its primary function is to stimulate the production of T cells. These are immunomodulatory and also develops B cells to plasma cells to produce antibodies. And thymosin beta 4 is the peptide, also known as TB500, that you're probably more familiar with the name of. And it plays a significant role in tissue repair. So something that used in concert with BPC 157 has significant benefits in an injury recovery aspect and can definitely expedite the healing of this, in my opinion. Using dosages upwards of, you know, like 1 milligram a day could be useful in this context, in my opinion. Another possible peptide to look at is Ghk Copper. A lot of people don't realize that Ghk Copper, it's often talked about for its, you know, potential hair loss benefits, and to be honest, these are definitely overhyped in my opinion. I've tried it myself. Injected, I've literally put it on my fucking head, I put it on my face, I put it fucking everywhere on my body. Not actually, but I've used it pretty extensively. It does not really do a lot in a hair loss aspect, unfortunately, but it does have a variety of roles in the human body, and one of the main ones is it promotes the activation of wound healing, attracting immune cells, antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects, stimulating collagen and glycosaminoglycan synthesis in skin fibroblasts, and promoting blood vessel growth. So I had to write that one fucking down because I could not even remember. All of this is a pretty new peptide for me in the injury recovery aspect. I'm more familiar with its hair loss applications, as well as, you know, potentially correcting for copper deficiency in some aspects, or just, you know, different kind of applications. I was not overly aware of its injury recovery potential until relatively recently, but it is actually a very potent peptide that can be useful to add in conjunction with the BPC and the TB500, which is often overlooked because most people just do BPC plus TB500, and they kind of overlook the GHK component, as well as another endogenous secretagogue that we will be getting into next. So Ghk Copper, definitely useful to be adding in my opinion. Dosages being used, you know, I think it's like a couple milligrams a day or something like that is the typical dosage subcutaneously. Don't take that with a grain of salt. Double check that, obviously. Run it by your doctor. Don't fucking listen to me. That's just what I remember off the top of my head about the GHK. But yeah, definitely has a significant effect on wound healing, injury recovery, etc. And I would definitely be adding it into the stack, in my opinion. The next thing I would also be looking at is potential secretagogues and growth hormone releasing peptides / releasing hormone secretagogues. So it's like GHRPs, GHRHs, and which you would be choosing. I guess it depends on how willing he is to get hungry, because a lot of these operate through agonism of the ghrelin receptor. So things like MK677 in conjunction with the CJC1295 with the drug affinity complex. These are very potent at increasing IGF-1 levels, and that's not necessarily the main reason I would be using them, though. The reason that they may be useful is that the stimulation of endogenous production of growth hormone produces different kilodalton isoforms of growth hormone endogenously, which vary from the standard recombinant HGH you'd be injecting from like exogenous somatropin. So if you're using norditropin pens or using serostim or using whatever, you're getting like a one of the several kilodalton variants that you're administering. And this is like how they actually catch people in doping, is they will check the isoform differential immunoassay to actually see, is there an endogenous ratio of isoforms of HGH that actually match what you would normally produce at your pituitary. And if it doesn't match, it's like, oh, he's using recombinant HGH. So when you're using it for injury recovery, like, we don't know for sure. Like, your body obviously has different kilodalton variants for a reason. These isoforms are produced in different ratios to do presumably different things in the body, or else you wouldn't do it. So if you're injecting exogenous GH, sure, you're probably backfilling a lot of the injury recovery potential, but if you really want to top it out, I would definitely be looking at potentially adding a low dose of a secretagogue plus a background CJC or something like that. You could look at an ipamorelin plus a tesamorelin. You could look at an MK677 plus a CJC1295 with DAC. That's the kind of thing I'd be looking at. And if he's willing to deal with the hunger aspect from ghrelin receptor agonism, it could definitely be very useful. And I definitely see in an injury recovery context individuals who actually note very significant differences, or notable enough for it to be worthwhile exploring, between just GH on its own and then GH in conjunction with some of these exogenous peptides added concurrently, because you're stimulating the endogenous production of all of the kilodalton variants, all of the different isoforms that you naturally produce, and maxing out your potential of production. So I would have like a background layer of a certain amount of GH. Rather than having a super high dose of GH, I'd probably have a background dose of like a decent amount of GH, and then a background dose of a decent amount of a GHRP and a GHRH or something like that. Which one you choose is going to depend on how willing you are to tolerate hunger and whatnot. But like, even me, when I use MK677, I notice the most hair growth and hair density increase. When people think of, the fountain of youth, HGH, and they talk about all the benefits from a skin and hair growth aspect and stuff, I noticed the most like of those traditional stereotypical effects when I was using MK677. Like, I've used reasonable doses of like high quality GH, and I got more from like a traditional, like, I guess hair in particular, one of the flagship, stereotypical things you look for from GH supposedly. I got the most from MK plus CJC when I used it. Like, that was the most I noticed those kind of effects. And does that have to do with the isoform variants? Like, I don't know for sure, but if you're trying to be broad spectrum in your approach to injury recovery, this is definitely something I would consider. So those are the main tools I would be leveraging for injury recovery. There are probably a few others I will remember later, and I'm sure Steve and Leo probably have input that they might put on their channel, so definitely check out their stuff too. Maybe we'll revisit the conversation on a next episode of Super Physiological Man podcast or something. But those are my general recommendations for recovery, or things to explore with your doctor oversight, obviously. So anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully Joe recovers quickly, and hopefully some of these suggestions may be useful to him, or useful to you, moving forward. So thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplatesmoredates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplatesmoredates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, not BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below. TRT clinic, all from the comfort of your own home. You can obviously get access to pharma grade peptides like the ones I mentioned, if suitable for your situation too, from an injury recovery context or whatever it is, through my HRT clinic and the pharmacies we have access to. And anything else I'm associated with, it is all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.